Welcome back. There is a reckoning when it comes to racism that has been going on for weeks now. Now, it has led to sometimes uncomfortable but always important conversations. We can't solve a problem if we can't talk about it. And as the adults grapple with this, the kids are watching. They're always watching. So Carlin Purcell joins us now with ways parents can talk to their kids about race and racism. Carlin, I am hearing this from so many parents, and I have for years. They want to know how they can engage their kids in these conversations. And it's very important that this is happening not just in Black families. This needs to happen in all families. Your first tip is about getting used to the idea that these are not going to be easy conversations.
If you look at the history of racism or anti-Black racism, it's not a conversation we had globally, online or in person. So it's going to be very uncomfortable. So the first thing I would tell parents is that just gear up for a long journey of you personally being uncomfortable, first talking about the subject on a personal level, and then you can start preparing yourself to have that conversation with your children.
You say it's crucial that parents revisit the home culture before they have this talk. What do you mean by that?
Because if you look at your belief system or the values that you have raised your family on, including the inherited values that both parents have gotten from their family and their parents, was there a culture of talking about racism or anti-Black racism or having really hard conversations? And if that's a no, this moment in time is providing such a unique and important opportunity for parents to now infuse that and create that culture so that their kids can now carry that legacy forward, and most importantly, create a more inclusive world. So it's an opportunity to really jumpstart a new way of being, thinking, believing, and creating a culture that can really help the kids to have that conversation as they go forward.
Now, since so many of us have been homeschooling our kids, math isn't like racism, but I'll tell you this, when you don't know the answer to the grade 4 math problem, you have to figure out a way to help your kid get that answer. So you also have a way for parents to deal with not having the answer, because you won't have all the answers.
Yes, this is not a sprint. This isn't a get an overnight PhD in racism. It's a marathon. So I would encourage, parents to think of creating a communication process. As you build that new culture, that new communication culture at home, think of it, what does that look like? How do we broach those questions? What are the different mediums we're going to use? And for parents as well, you don't have to do this alone. As humans, we learn better in groups. So create your mommy and daddy or parents, let's talk about racism group. Like, we have all those different mommy groups for so many different things. This is an opportunity to create a group around that. And remember, you don't have to lean on your own understanding for you to get through this. Lean on the other mommies and the other people around you to start that conversation, but also to identify what works, what didn't work, as you continue to build for your own home.
You say there's something very important that parents need to do before they even start this conversation with their kids, and what is that?
Parents have to be comfortable and confront their own vulnerability. Racism is like an elephant in the room, and there is a lot of emotions attached to it. Guilt, shame, helplessness. Did I contribute towards creating a culture of anti-Black racism? You might have unconsciously. So this is an opportunity for parents to really understand the role that they play in modeling that vulnerability for their kids. Because the more they get comfortable with being uncomfortable and facing their own vulnerability, facing the various emotions that come through it, they will be able to better support the children as they go through their own emotional wave around that subject.
And you know what, I feel like that's great advice right across the board, because I know with my kids, like with my daughter, I will see her and her friends acting out those sort of mean girl paradigms. And I've told her that I was part of that sort of situation when I was her age in elementary school, and that I wish I had dealt with things differently then, because it hurts so much to be the one that's excluded. So it really does help as a parent to be able to step into your vulnerability and say, I made that mistake, this is how it felt. Maybe think twice about it before you jump in there and do the same thing. So it's the same sort of thing right across the board. Now, when you're having these discussions, there might be there will probably be some emotions that arise. How do parents deal with that with their kids?
The only way to get to courage is to go through vulnerability. And as you encounter the different emotions that will come up, because as you talk about the different facets or the dimensions of racism, you don't know what will come up. So find what I call them containers. Our bodies are not meant to hold those emotions. Unprocessed emotions turn to psychological pain and physical pain. So find different containers, find different outlets. When it gets heavy at home, what do you do? Who do you talk to when your kids come to you with a question that you just cannot answer? What are some of the things that you can do as a family? Both parents, mom and dad, or mom and dad and dad. What can you say to your kids on a united front that reflects the values of your family? So it's important to look for what I call them containers, so that you can express your emotions or express yourself as you journey through this conversation.